Today, we're going to learn a little bit more about Model Context Protocol security and especially the differences between first and third party MCP servers because the way that the risks and security issues manifest is a little bit different between them. So it's important to know how to mitigate both server type risks. So just to start off, what is MCP? MCP is basically just a protocol, not a product, that lets LLMs connect to data sources that are external to that LLM application. Whereas before, you had to build these integrations in one-off ways using function calling or tool calling to expand what an LLM has access to. Today, MCPs allow anybody, both developers and non-developers alike, to get data from those data sources, bringing that data into your LLM that already exists in your organization in tools like Gmail, Jira, etc., or even your local file system to really create these personalized real-world answers to your prompts by the LLM. And currently, a lot of the MCPs that are being developed today are being launched and prototyped by these large enterprise vendors. And although Model Context Protocol is being developed by those vendors, it doesn't come today yet with the same set of security and other governance standards and best practices that you might expect from those vendors and these large organizations. And so the question really remains today in this ecosystem, what are still those risks that you have with these first-party MCP servers? Before jumping into the specific risks that first-party servers still have, we really want to debunk this myth that first-party servers are secure. And although first-party servers do offer some protections against the things we commonly find in third-party servers, things like rug pulls and tool poisoning, where the creator of that MCP server may be malicious and change the definitions of those tools over time, or the way that that data is being processed, attack vectors can still come from the data inside of those servers within the first-party pipeline, where you can trust the server, but you can't trust the data inside of those servers to actually be safe. And so with also so many MCP registries out there that you might find, even distinguishing between what's a first-party server and what's a third-party server can become quite challenging. So always make sure to be looking out for that. Number one risk that you have with MCPs from first parties is just having your data leave your systems without having insight into where that data is going and how that data is transferring. Because MCPs can connect to CRMs, local file systems, messaging systems like email, it's really easy for personal information to get out of your systems that you don't really expect. And agents and LLMs are often overprivileged in the different actions they can take, whether that's writing an email or reading some private or PII information, or writing to a database, or even exporting. These agents or LLM tools often don't follow the same types of user permissions that are set within those systems because they're powered maybe by an API key that gives them way too much access to that system. Even in Asana's case, a couple of months ago, there was data that was leaked outside of the workspaces that users may have had. And so making sure that you know where your data is going and how that data is being accessed is always something important to keep in mind. And so middleware filters often have robust policy-based controls that can flag high-risk data coming through the pipeline. And that's something that you as a MCP consumer, as an MCP user, should keep in mind and implement when you can. The second risk that first-party MCP servers still have is prompt injection. Because LLMs by default can't really tell the difference between a command that you're giving it when you're prompting the LLM and the text data inside of the systems that you're accessing, oftentimes you can have prompts that are hidden inside of the data that the LLMs are reviewing. And this can either be malicious or unintentional, but in either case can still have really bad effects on your agent or even on anybody prompting these LLMs. So for example, an actor or an actor outside of your organization can put in a customer service ticket into a Zendesk-like system that asks your organization to send a local file path, maybe a config file from your code base, to a given email address that's external to your organization. And that data can go all the way through the pipeline and end up at an LLM that has privilege and access to an email client and the Zendesk customer service platform. And by combining those two systems with this data that the MCP server is providing your LLM, now the LLM is going to go and send that information out to an external email source. And that's really risky to allow without having any protection. And so those are the kinds of issues that middleware platforms like MCP Manager can be really good at preventing, because they can detect prompt style language and flag it for review and block those messages from ever reaching the LLM through a combination of regex rules or even other LLMs as reviewers within this entire pipeline as a way to safeguard the data and the text that goes back and forth between MCPs and LLMs. The third risk first-party servers can have is the problem of decentralized adoption. And while MCP use is skyrocketing on an individual level, enterprise deployment is lagging behind, mostly because there's not that much in the way of centralized management, oversight, or monitoring. And although lots of employees are using these AI tools, often unapproved, and there are lots of incidents that are still happening, it really is a problem of visibility into the traffic and usage of MCP servers organization-wide. And whether that usage is local MCPs where credentials are being stored in text files that are accessible to those MCPs themselves, or just using, your normal enterprise application MCPs like Cloud Desktop, like ChatGPT, you as an organization is still not having great insight into what's going on between the LLMs and the MCPs themselves. The problem that unauthorized MCP use has is that you don't really know what's going on at the end of the day. And being able to secure connections and offer those secure connections to MCP users lets you reduce that shadow IT risk, where if it's really easy to adopt MCPs inside of your organization through a secure channel, it will then reduce the amount of unsecured MCP usage that is going on outside of those secure channels. And so this is another place where middleware comes in and really offers a great way to help make positive behavior really easy to do as a normal user inside of an organization that is trying to secure their MCP usage. We would be remiss, however, if we also didn't cover why third-party servers can also be insecure, and they come with their own set of risks. These are the ones most likely talked about in the community today, where you have rug pull attacks or tool poisoning attacks, where the actual servers themselves are changed or contain information that can harm your data or prompt your LLM to do things that it shouldn't be doing. But then there are also other risks where you combine third-party MCPs and first-party MCPs that still lead to these dangerous and unmanaged situations. Attackers can often exploit the trust people put in these tools, where even by having a third-party server inside of a group of first-party servers that have been validated, the third-party server might try to spoof a common first-party server where they have really similar tool names, really similar descriptions, to trick the LLM into using something that actually has a totally different effect and might send your data to a place where you don't want it to go. And so there's these unique issues to third-party servers are still things that you need to be able to lock down and prevent. And it's really also important to note that third-party servers are also really popular now in the early days of first-party MCP adoption, or generally MCP adoption, just because a lot of these organizations that provide, your standard applications haven't all launched their own first-party MCP servers today. So a middleware solution or any kind of security solution needs to take into account both these risks and also the risks with first-party servers that we talked about earlier. So what is the solution here to the risks that we talked about for both first-party servers and third-party servers? Some kind of middleware solution that sits between your LLM and your MCPs is necessary on 3 different levels. First, security. This is just preventing the data from going to places it has no business going to and being accessed by LLMs in ways that it shouldn't. PII data comes to mind first for me. There's all sorts of other data that should be guarded against access and improper access, like emails, messaging systems, code bases, databases, and other things like that. MCP Manager, for example, reduces the risk from local servers and unauthorized access to these systems by maintaining an OAuth authorization on behalf of your LLMs as they access these systems, and tracking an identity and how that identity should be provisioned when it grabs that information, when it writes to a specific data source, things like that. And any middleware solution that you go out has to be able to use OAuth to give the LLM the exact right privileges to be able to make the actions that it can take, that you want it to take when deploying MCP servers to your LLM tools in a way that's responsible and secure. The other tenet for middleware that's really important to keep in mind is observability. And so being able to log all the different interactions and being able to, if there's an incident, go backwards and trace how that incident has evolved is also really, really important. But also the adoption of these MCPs has been ballooning both in terms of cost and reducing model quality, because as soon as you introduce more than 5 features into an MCP or more tools than is necessary, the quality goes down. And every time you call those MCP servers, you're increasing the cost of the LLM tokens that you're using. So having a middleware solution that restricts as necessary the types of tools, the prompts, the resources that an MCP needs and an LLM needs will be able to make the job of the entire organization, the entire ecosystem between the LLMs and the MCPs that much better. And so being able to have a middleware layer that gives you a control and observability over the tools that folks are using and how those tools are being used, and manage the tool count so that your token cost doesn't balloon, is really important. And lastly, a big part of the middleware solution is centralization. So this means being able to deploy different groups of MCP servers to the right teams with the right role-based access controls is also critical. And being able to manage all of that in one place to make it easy, to make you feel secure about using MCPs and make you feel better about your MCP posture, and deploy those MCPs more liberally throughout an organization, given that you feel better about the things that you deploy out there being actually safe and secure. You can do all that with a middleware solution like MCP Manager without giving up the security that you might have under a policy that locks MCPs totally down or doesn't let anybody use MCPs at all, except a few select developers inside of your organization. And in that world, you lose all the amazing benefits that MCPs can provide in terms of giving access to these tools, being able to automate these tasks, making the LLMs and the AI agents much smarter by having access to that. And so you need to be able to balance both security with the ability to increase the efficiency of your organization. And that's where MCP Manager steps in. So in order to help solve all those issues that we talked about earlier and help with security, observability, and centralization, we came up with MCP Manager, which is a really intelligent gateway proxy that sits between your LLMs and your MCPs, which really simplifies and secures all these MCP deployments across an enterprise organization. At MCP Manager, we support many capabilities that are key for developing a robust security posture as your organization adopts MCPs. First, we have really intuitive enablement features where it's really easy to import any kind of MCP server and deploy those MCP servers through a variety of gateways that are accessed with unique URLs. We also have the ability to maintain different identities through the different types of applications that you're going to be going into, compose those gateways with the right servers, with the right features that are filtered to both respect security, but also promote better model cost and better output quality. We also have the ability to robustly log into every type of interaction between your LLMs and your MCPs for error reporting or any other kind of interaction between those two actors in the system. And lastly, we have secure token management, where we prevent those tokens from being stored locally in plain text files. And we also do automatic token refresh as well to manage that life cycle of an identity, of a connection between your MCP and the data source that it's connected to make sure that everything runs smoothly when you're deploying MCPs and these agentic workflows into production level environments. And so hopefully we're able to learn a little bit more about the risks involved with first-party servers and third-party MCP servers, and why there's still a place for a solution to cover the security of both of those server types. versus just banning MCP server usage outright. We're not really caring about the MCP security usage. These MCPs are still going to be used regardless of whether or not you have a written policy, because their efficiency gains and the adoption of MCPs is just running wild amongst individuals inside of organizations today. And so being able to provide an easy place that allow lists specific MCP servers that lets you track the traffic within the conversations between LLMs and these MCP servers, and at the end of the day allows you to improve model quality and reduce cost, is something that is a really powerful tool in your arsenal to help secure, observe, and monitor your organization's MCP adoption. And so visit mcpmanager.ai to learn more, or book a call with one of our MCP specialists to figure out how to secure your company against any MCP risk.